The sun was still low in the sky when Ryan stood at the edge of the valley. The volcano rose high above him, its dark peak touching the clouds. Smoke drifted slowly from its top and the air smelled faintly of ash. To many, this mountain was a place of fear, but to Ryan it was a place of questions. He had traveled far to reach this land, and he had come not for gold or treasure but for knowledge. The villagers who lived near the volcano spoke of old stories. They said that beneath the mountain lay a temple built long ago by hands not human. Some called it a place of warning, others a place of wonder. No outsider had ever been allowed to enter the deep caves near the volcano. Yet Ryan had been given permission after many weeks of waiting. He had promised the village elder that he would show respect and bring no harm to the sacred land. With him were two guides. Lomu, a tall man with steady eyes, carried simple tools and ropes. Arya, a quiet woman with careful steps, carried water and food. They knew the paths of the valley better than anyone. Ryan trusted them, for he was a stranger here, and the land was full of hidden dangers. The morning air was cool as they began their walk toward the volcano. Birds circled above, their wings shining in the early light. The path was narrow, cut between sharp rocks and thick bushes. As they walked, Lomu told Ryan more about the stories of the temple. He said that when the volcano shook, people heard sounds from deep within, like drums beating in the earth. Some believed the mountain was alive and that the temple inside was its heart. Arya added that once, long ago, a child had wandered near the cave and returned with strange marks on her skin. The marks glowed like fire but left no wound. The child grew strong and wise, and the people called her touched by the mountain. These words filled Ryan with greater curiosity. He believed that the past of humankind held many secrets, and some of those secrets were hidden not in books but in places like this. When they reached a high ridge, Ryan stopped to look around. From there he could see the wide valley below. Fields of green stretched out, broken by streams of clear water. Beyond them lay small villages with roofs of straw. The people lived simple lives, yet they carried the weight of old tales that no one else knew. Ryan felt humbled. He was not here to teach, but to learn. The ridge sloped down to a cluster of caves at the base of the volcano. The largest cave mouth was half hidden by stone and wild plants. Black rock formed its walls, and the ground was warm underfoot. As they drew closer, Ryan felt a strange hum in the air, almost like a low song. He stopped listening. Lomu and Arya noticed it too. "This is the place," Lomu said softly. "The breath of the mountain is here." They lit small lamps, for the cave was dark. The air inside was heavy, carrying the smell of earth and heat. The walls glittered in places as though tiny crystals had formed within the rock. As Ryan walked deeper, his hand brushed one of the walls. At once, lines of light spread out from where his fingers had touched. The lines formed shapes that glowed like fire, then faded slowly. Lomu and Arya stepped back in fear. "Do not touch again," Arya warned. "This is not for us," but Ryan felt no fear. Instead, he felt a deep pull, as though the cave had recognized him. He lowered his hand and bowed his head, showing respect. He whispered that he came only to understand, not to take. The cave remained silent, yet the memory of the glowing lines stayed in his mind. As they moved forward, the walls showed carvings. Figures of tall beings with shining skin stood beside humans. Their hands were raised toward the sky, and between them was the shape of the volcano itself. Ryan studied these carvings with care. They told a story of connection, of two peoples who once worked together. He wondered if these shining beings were real, or if they were only symbols created by human imagination. The cave path narrowed until it ended at a wall of stone. For a moment it seemed there was nowhere else to go. Then, as the ground shook gently under their feet, a crack appeared in the wall. Hot air rushed out, and the stone shifted as though moved by an unseen hand. Slowly an opening formed, wide enough for them to pass. Lomu crossed his chest with his hand, a sign of respect for the spirits of the mountain. Arya looked uneasy, but she followed Ryan as he stepped forward. The air was warmer here, and the sound of the volcano's deep rumble grew louder. Ryan knew they were standing on the edge of something great. The temple beneath the volcano was real, and it was waiting. What it held, no one could yet know. But in his heart, he felt that this journey would change not only him but the story of all humankind. The air grew heavier as Ryan, Lomu, and Arya stepped through the new opening in the cave wall. It was as if the mountain itself had allowed them to pass. The stone door closed slowly behind them, leaving no mark of where it had opened. A sense of mystery filled the three travelers, and for a moment even the lamps they carried seemed too weak to fight the darkness. The path sloped downward, the ground warm beneath their feet. Strange patterns glowed faintly along the walls. They were not carvings made by human hands, but flowing lines that curved like rivers of fire. As Ryan brushed his fingers close to them, the light grew stronger. Lomu pulled his arm back. "Do not anger the mountain," Lomu said firmly. Ryan nodded. "I do not wish to anger it. I only want to listen." Arya kept close behind, her eyes moving over every shadow. She carried the food and water, but her steps were careful and slow. She whispered that the air felt alive, as if the walls were breathing. Ryan agreed in silence. They reached a wide chamber. The ceiling rose so high that their lamps could not show where it ended. In the middle of the chamber stood a tall pillar of black stone. The pillar was smooth, yet lines of glowing fire ran across it, forming shapes that shifted as they watched. At first, the shapes looked like stars, then like waves of water, and finally like faces. Ryan stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the strange pillar. He placed his hand gently on the surface. The lines of fire responded at once, spreading outward and lighting the chamber. The walls around them filled with images. Tall figures with golden skin were shown walking beside humans, carrying tools of light. Some stood by rivers, others by fields, teaching people how to shape the land. Ryan's heart raced as he saw this. "These are not just pictures," he said softly. "They are memories." Lomu shook his head. "It is dangerous to believe such things. These beings are not of our world. If they walked here, then why did they leave?" Ryan did not answer. He felt the pillar was alive in some way, showing him what he needed to see. The images faded and the fire returned to calm lines. A deep sound echoed through the chamber like a heartbeat. Then slowly, part of the floor shifted, revealing a stairway leading deeper into the mountain. The three stood at the edge, staring down. Heat rose from below, carrying the smell of ash and stone. The light of their lamps flickered in the warm air. "Should we go further?" Arya asked. Her voice carried fear, yet also curiosity. Ryan looked at them both. "I believe the mountain has opened this way for us. If it was meant to be closed, we would not stand here now." With care, they began their descent. The stairs were old but strong, carved with lines that shone faintly, guiding their path. As they moved downward, the sound of the volcano's rumble grew louder, steady and deep, like the voice of the earth itself. At the end of the stairs, they reached another hall. This hall was long, with walls of smooth black stone. Strange machines stood in silence along the sides. They were shaped like arches, wheels, and circles, unlike anything human hands had built. Dust covered them, yet they glowed faintly as the travelers passed. Lomu stared at them with wide eyes. "These are not tools of men. They belong to the Shining Ones," Arya nodded. "But why are they sleeping? If they built this place, why did they not return?" Ryan walked slowly between the silent machines. He felt a strange connection, as though they were watching him. He touched one of the arches, and for a moment it hummed with life. The glow brightened, then faded again. "They are waiting," Ryan said, "waiting for something or someone." Before they could ask more, a voice filled the hall. It was not a voice of sound, but of thought rising in their minds like a clear river. "Who enters the Temple of Fire?" the voice asked. The three stopped at once. Arya dropped her lamp in fear, but the flame did not go out. It rolled across the floor and rested near the wall. Ryan stood still, breathing deeply. "We are travelers," he said calmly. "We seek only to learn. We come with respect," the voice answered, its tone strong yet not cruel. "This place is sacred. It was forged in fire to test the worthy. None may enter without trial. If you walk forward, you must face what the fire demands." The hall grew brighter as the walls filled with light. The machines shone as if waking from sleep. The air grew hot and the ground shook lightly. Lomu and Arya looked at Ryan, fear clear in their eyes. Ryan felt his heart beating fast, yet he did not turn back. He believed that the temple had opened because of him, and that the trial was meant not to destroy but to reveal. He nodded slowly. "I will face the trial," Ryan said. The voice spoke once more. "Then step forward, heir of fire. The path awaits." The ground opened at the far end of the hall, revealing another passage glowing with golden light. Ryan tightened the straps of his pack and walked toward the new path. Lomu and Arya followed, though they walked with fear in their steps. None of them knew what lay ahead, but they all felt that something greater than themselves was guiding the way. The glowing passage stretched ahead of them like a river of light. Ryan, Lomu, and Arya walked slowly, their steps echoing against the smooth stone walls. The air was warmer now, and the hum of the volcano's heart filled the space. It was not the sound of destruction, but a deep rhythm, steady and alive. Ryan felt it in his chest, as if the mountain itself was breathing with him. The passage ended at a vast chamber greater than any they had seen before. The ceiling curved high above, glowing faintly with golden lines. The walls shone with patterns that moved like flowing water. In the center stood 3 towering figures made of light. They had no solid form, yet their shapes were clear. They were tall, their bodies shining with golden fire, and their faces were calm yet powerful. Lomu froze. "Spirits of the mountain," he whispered, his voice trembling. Arya dropped to her knees, bowing her head. She could not look at them, for their glow was too bright. Rian stood still, though his heart raced. He had dreamed of finding signs of life beyond Earth, but to see them with his own eyes was beyond his imagination. He stepped forward with respect and placed his hand across his chest. The beings of light spoke, not with mouths but with voices that filled the chamber and their minds. "You stand within the Temple of Fire," they said. "This place was forged in the heat of the mountain, built to protect the bond between our kind and yours. Yet time has passed and the bond has grown weak. Why have you come here, child of Earth?" Ryan's voice shook, but he spoke clearly. "I have come seeking truth. I wish to learn what this place is and why it was left behind. I bring no weapon, no greed, only the desire to understand." The golden beings watched him in silence. Their light pulsed slowly like the beat of a heart. Then one of them stepped forward. "This temple is not for all. It is a place of trial. Long ago we walked with your people. We gave knowledge and we forged trust. But the fire of the volcano is a test that only the worthy may endure. If you walk this path, you must face the fire, not with strength of hand, but with strength of spirit." Arya lifted her head, her voice weak but full of worry. "He is only a man. Why must he face such things?" The being answered gently. "Because the temple has chosen him. The fire calls to his spirit, and he must answer. You may stand with him, but you cannot walk his trial." Lomu clenched his fists. He was a man of courage, yet he felt powerless before the Golden Guardians. He turned to Ryan. "Do not do this. We came only to look, not to be burned by the fire of gods." But Ryan felt a strange calm. Deep inside he knew this was not a trap. The temple had not opened to destroy him, but to measure him. He looked at the Guardians and spoke firmly. "I will walk the trial. If I am not worthy, then let the fire judge me. If I am, then let the truth be shown." The 3 beings of light raised their hands. The chamber shook and the floor began to change. Stones shifted and pulled away, forming a new path leading into darkness. Lava glowed far below and the heat washed over them like waves. "The trial of heat awaits," the Guardian said. "Step forward and you will know. Step back and the door will close forever." Lomu grabbed Ryan's arm. "This is madness. The fire will kill you. No man can walk through molten stone." Ryan placed his hand on Lomu's shoulder. "You are my friend. I hear your fear, but I feel something calling me. I cannot turn back now." Arya's eyes were full of tears. "Then go with care. Let the fire not consume you, but guide you." The Guardians spoke again, their voices like thunder wrapped in light. "Remember this. The fire does not test the body, but the spirit. Those who fear will fall. Those who believe will endure." Rian stepped toward the glowing path. The air grew hotter with each pace and sweat ran down his face. His breath came fast, but he held his head high. Behind him, Lomu and Arya stayed at the chamber's edge, unable to follow. As he stood at the beginning of the path, the ground beneath his feet glowed brighter. The lava below moved like a living river, sending sparks of fire into the air. The trial had begun. The Guardians faded slowly into the light of the walls, leaving Ryan alone on the path. Yet their words stayed in his heart, steady and strong. Walk the fire. Prove the bond. Carry the flame. Ryan took a deep breath and stepped forward. The stone under his foot held firm, though the heat pressed against his skin like a burning wind. He knew there was no turning back. Ahead lay the forge of fire, and beyond it the truth of the temple. The path of fire stretched before Ryan like a bridge between 2 worlds. Beneath him flowed a river of molten stone, glowing red and gold. The heat rose in waves, pressing against his skin and filling his lungs with dry air. Every step forward felt like walking into the heart of the mountain itself. Behind him, Lomu and Arya stood at the edge of the chamber, their faces pale. They could only watch. The Guardians had said this trial was for Ryan alone. If they tried to follow, the path would vanish under their feet. Rian took his first steps with care. The stone beneath him was narrow yet strong. Each time his foot touched the surface, a faint glow spread outward, as if the path came alive with his presence. He held his head high, though sweat ran down his face and his body trembled from the heat. The chamber filled with sound, not only the bubbling of molten rock, but also whispers carried in the air. At first they were faint, but soon they grew clearer. Voices spoke from the fire, voices of humans long gone. "Do not fear the flame," one said. "Endure, and the fire will shape you," said another. "The bond is stronger than the heat," whispered a third. Rian listened closely. Their words gave him strength. He remembered the stories he had read of ancient humans who faced the unknown, not with weapons but with courage. Now he was walking in their place. Halfway across the path, the ground shook. Fire rose in tall bursts from the lava below, and the heat grew stronger. Rian stumbled but caught his balance. He closed his eyes for a moment and breathed deeply, letting the rhythm of the volcano match his own heartbeat. At that moment, he felt something change inside him. The heat no longer seemed only to burn. It also carried energy, as if the fire itself was lending him strength. His steps grew steadier, and the whispers grew louder, guiding him forward. On the far side of the path stood a great arch of black stone. It glowed with golden fire and pulsed like a living heart. Rian knew this was the end of the trial. If he reached it, he would pass. But the fire was not done testing him. As he neared the arch, the path began to break apart. Stones fell into the molten river, leaving gaps he would have to cross. Ryan's breath quickened, yet he did not let fear take him. He remembered the guardian's words. The fire does not test the body, but the spirit. He took a step forward, and where there was no stone, his foot found light instead. A bridge of golden fire appeared beneath him, holding his weight. He walked carefully, each step bringing forth another golden bridge. The trial was not about strength of legs, but strength of faith. At last he reached the arch. He placed his hand upon it, and the fire surged upward, wrapping around him. For a moment he was blinded by light. He felt as if his body was no longer flesh but flame, shaped and refined like metal in a forge. In that light, visions came to him. He saw humans of old standing beside the golden beings, building together, planting together, fighting against the dark of the void together. He saw them forging tools of light and passing them from one hand to another. He saw fire not as destruction but as creation. When the light faded, Rian stood unharmed before the arch. His body trembled, yet he was whole. Around his wrist rested a band of golden metal, glowing faintly. It had not been placed there by his hand, but by the fire itself. The band was warm, yet it did not burn. On the far side of the chamber, the guardians appeared once more, their forms bright and calm. Their voices filled the air. "You have walked the trial of heat. The fire has tested you and found you worthy. The band you carry is the gift of the forge. It is not wealth, but a key. It binds you to the bond between our kind and yours. Guard it well, for it is forged in fire, and fire never lies." Rian looked at the band, then back at the guardians. His voice was quiet but strong. "I will guard it. I will carry the flame with honor." Lomu and Arya ran forward as the path closed behind Rian. Relief showed in their eyes, though they still looked at the golden band with awe and fear. "You are changed," Arya whispered. "The fire has touched you." Rian nodded slowly. "The fire has touched all of us. I only walked its path, but its truth belongs to humankind." The guardians raised their hands. The chamber shook again, and the arch opened, revealing a new passage filled with golden light. The trial was complete, but the journey was not. "Step forward," the guardian said. "The forge awaits." Rian took a deep breath, tightened his pack, and walked toward the light. Behind him, Lomu and Arya followed, their fear balanced by wonder. The temple had not only tested Rian, but had also begun to awaken. The trial of heat was over, but the true gift of the forge was yet to come. The golden passage glowed like a sunlit river as Rian, Lomu, and Arya walked forward. The air was warm but gentle now, no longer the burning breath of the trial. Rian felt the band on his wrist, its glow soft yet steady. It pulsed in rhythm with his heart, reminding him that the fire had chosen him. At the end of the passage, they stepped into a chamber unlike any they had seen before. It was vast, with walls that shimmered like polished metal. In the center stood a great forge, shaped from stone and glowing with pure golden fire. The flames rose and fell in slow waves, calm yet powerful. Around the forge were carvings of humans and golden beings working side by side, holding tools, building cities, and sharing light. Arya gasped as she looked around. This is not the work of men. It is greater than anything we know. Lomu's eyes narrowed with awe and doubt. But why does such a place lie hidden under fire and stone? If it was built for humans, why was it sealed away? Before Rian could answer, the Guardians appeared once more, their golden forms rising from the air around the forge. Their voices filled the chamber, steady and strong. This is the Forge of Fire. It is the heart of the temple, built to hold the memory of the bond between our kind and yours. Long ago we gave this gift to humankind, but time passed and the bond was forgotten. Now it has awakened, for the fire has found a spirit strong enough to carry its flame. The golden fire within the forge rose higher. From its center a shape began to form. It was a piece of raw metal, glowing bright as if alive. Slowly it lifted itself from the flames and floated toward Rian. The band on his wrist glowed in answer, and the metal began to change shape. Before their eyes, it became a second band, thinner and brighter than the first. It hovered above Ryan's hand, waiting. Arya whispered, "It is alive." The Guardian spoke again. "This is not wealth. It is not treasure for greed. It is a key. It holds the memory of fire. And through it the bond between humankind and us will live again. Do not mistake it for power fades. This is flame that guides, flame that endures." Ryan reached out, his hand steady. As his fingers touched the glowing band, he felt a rush of warmth. Images filled his mind once more. He saw humans lifting tools of light, standing beside golden beings as equals. He saw them traveling to far lands and building together. He saw battles in the dark void, where humans stood firm when others fell. The Guardians' voices echoed within the vision. Humanity was chosen not for strength of body, but for strength of spirit. When fire burned, humankind endured. When darkness rose, humankind carried light. This is why the forge remembers you. The glowing band settled onto Ryan's other wrist. Its warmth spread through him, not as pain, but as calm strength. He felt a bond, not only with the Guardians, but with all who had walked before him. He understood that this gift was not for him alone, but for all of humankind. When the vision faded, Ryan opened his eyes. The forge still glowed, but the chamber was quiet again. Lomu and Arya stood close, their eyes wide with wonder. Lomu spoke first. "I do not understand. Why you? Why not the people of this land, who have lived under the volcano for generations?" The Guardians answered. "The fire does not choose by land or blood. It chooses by spirit. This man came with no greed, no hunger for gold. He came with questions and respect. The fire saw his heart and found it worthy." Arya looked at Ryan with both fear and trust. "Then the fire has given you a great duty. What will you do with it?" Ryan lowered his head, his voice quiet yet firm. "I will carry it. Not as a master, but as a keeper. I will share what I have seen so that humans may remember who they are meant to be." The Guardians raised their hands and the forge blazed bright once more. Then their forms faded slowly into the air, leaving the chamber calm and still. For a long moment the three travelers stood in silence. The golden bands on Ryan's wrists glowed softly, lighting the chamber. Lomu broke the silence with a heavy sigh. "We came seeking only a story, but now we walk with fire itself." Ryan turned to him and smiled faintly. "Stories are never small. They are flames passed from one hand to another. This temple is proof that stories carry truth." They looked once more at the forge, then turned toward the path ahead. A new opening had appeared, filled with light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The journey was not yet done. The forge had given its gift, but the mountain still had more to reveal. Together they stepped forward into the glowing passage, carrying not only the gift of the forge, but also the weight of its meaning. The golden passage carried Ryan, Lomu, and Arya upward. The air was thick and warm, and the walls glowed faintly like embers under stone. Each step seemed to rise closer to the heart of the volcano. The soft glow of the bands on Ryan's wrists guided them forward, lighting their way when shadows tried to press in. At last they stepped into a vast chamber, higher than any they had seen before. The roof arched like the inside of a great dome, and above it cracks in the stone let in faint red light. The floor trembled with a low rumble that echoed like the beating of a giant drum. The air smelled of smoke and ash, yet there was also a strange sweetness, like flowers blooming after rain. In the center of the chamber stood a great stone platform. Upon it was carved a circle filled with symbols. The carvings glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the tremor of the ground. Ryan could feel the pull of the forge bands drawing him toward it. Arya spoke softly, her voice filled with unease. The mountain is alive. It watches us. Lomu frowned, placing his hand on the wall. It is not only alive, it is restless. The fire beneath us is rising. Rian stepped onto the platform. At once the carvings blazed brighter, filling the chamber with golden light. The tremors grew stronger, and a deep sound like the roar of a buried river filled the air. Then the guardians appeared again, their golden forms larger and brighter than before. Their voices thundered like wind through stone. The forge has given its gift, but now the mountain must be calmed. The fire beneath stirs, and if it breaks free, the land will suffer. Only the bearer of the bands can stand before it and bring peace. This is the final task. The floor shook violently. From the cracks above, sparks rained down like falling stars. The air grew hot, and the sweetness faded into the heavy scent of burning earth. Arya shielded her eyes. "The volcano is waking!" Ryan clenched his fists. He could feel the warmth of the band spreading through him, steady and strong. "Tell me what I must do." The guardians raised their hands toward the glowing circle beneath his feet. "The bands are flame-bound to spirit. They carry the memory of the forge. To calm the fire, you must give it your will, not to control, but to guide. Stand firm. Let your spirit join with the mountain and carry peace to the restless flame." Lomu stepped closer, worry heavy in his eyes. "Ryan, this is no small task. If you fail, the fire will rise and consume everything." Ryan nodded. "If the forge trusted me, then I must trust it in return." He placed both hands on the glowing carvings. At once the chamber filled with blinding light. His body trembled as waves of heat surged through him, but he did not let go. He closed his eyes and opened his heart to the fire. In that moment, his mind was filled with visions. He saw the mountain as a living being, its core burning with wild, restless flame. The fire roared like a beast, straining against the stone that held it. It wanted to break free, to sweep across the land in fury. Ryan did not fight it. Instead, he spoke within the vision, his voice steady and calm. "You are fire, and fire brings both ruin and life. You can destroy, but you can also warm and give strength. Be still and burn with purpose. Burn as the forge burns, not as a storm, but as a guide." The fire raged against him, waves of heat crashing like a storm tide. His skin burned with pain, but the bands glowed brighter, protecting him. He held firm, his spirit unshaken. Slowly, the raging fire began to change. Its roar softened into a deep hum, steady like a heartbeat. Its flames, once wild and violent, settled into steady light. The trembling of the ground began to ease. The sparks falling from above faded, leaving only gentle golden glow. The chamber filled with warmth, not harsh but comforting, like sunlight after long rain. Rian opened his eyes. The carvings under his hands glowed bright one last time, then slowly dimmed to a soft shine. The guardians stood silent, their forms peaceful. Finally they spoke. "The mountain rests. You have carried fire in your spirit and given it peace. The land will be safe, and the bond of forge and flame is renewed. Humanity has not been forgotten. You have proven that the strength of spirit still lives within your kind." Arya stepped forward, her eyes wide with wonder. "You calmed the heart of a volcano. You stood where no man has ever stood." Lomu bowed his head deeply. "Perhaps the fire chose well after all. Not for wealth, not for glory, but for peace." Ryan lifted his hands. The bands glowed faintly, their light soft and calm. He felt no pride, only a quiet strength. "The fire is not mine. I am only its keeper. It belongs to all who live under its light." The chamber fell silent once more, the trembling gone. The guardians bowed, their golden forms fading into the warm air. The path ahead opened, glowing with light that led upward toward the surface. Together, Ryan, Lomu, and Arya stepped off the platform. Their steps were steady, their hearts lighter. Behind them, the volcano was calm, its fire resting in peace. Ahead, the world awaited the story they now carried. Ryan, Lomu, and Arya stepped into the final passage that led toward the surface. The golden glow of the temple faded slowly behind them, replaced by the soft light of the valley above. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of earth and grass instead of fire. After days underground, the surface felt alive and welcoming, as if the world itself had been waiting for them. The volcano loomed high above, quiet now. Smoke rose from the peak in gentle spirals. Ryan looked at the golden bands on his wrists, their light steady and calm. They were no longer tools of trial, but symbols of the bond between humans and the ancient beings who had built the temple. The forge had tested him, taught him, and now it trusted him. As they walked down the slope toward the village, villagers gathered near the path. They had seen the glow from the volcano and sensed that something important had occurred. Children ran forward, eyes wide with curiosity, while elders stood quietly, sensing the weight of history. One of the elders, a tall man with silver hair named Kanu, stepped forward. "You have returned," he said softly. "The mountain has been restless." "Did you see what lies beneath?" Ryan bowed slightly. "I have. I have seen the forge and felt the fire. It is alive, not to destroy but to guide. It carries the memory of those who came before us and the strength of humanity." Lomu and Arya exchanged glances, still amazed by what they had witnessed. "We saw the fire, Rian," Arya said. "It was alive. You carried it in your spirit and calmed it."
"How did you do it?"
Ryan smiled faintly. "The fire tested more than my strength. It tested my heart. I did not control it. I joined it. I listened and I believed. The fire responds to those who carry courage and respect." The villagers murmured among themselves, their fear of the volcano replaced by awe. The stories of the hidden temple and its fire were no longer tales of danger. Now they spoke of courage, wisdom, and the bond between humans and the ancient guardians of the forge. Kanu studied Rian carefully. "The bands you wear, they are more than ornaments. What will you do with them?" Ryan looked at the glowing bands and then back at the elders. "These bands are a reminder, not only for me but for all of humanity. They carry the memory of fire and the bond with the beings who built the temple. I will guard them and share their meaning. Humanity must remember its courage and its capacity to endure." A child stepped forward, holding a small stone in her hands. She looked at Ryan with wide eyes. "Will the fire come again?" she asked softly. Rian knelt and smiled. "The fire will always exist, but it will not harm those who respect it. It lives to guide and to strengthen, not to destroy. As long as humans carry courage in their hearts, the fire will be our ally." The villagers gathered closer, inspired by Rian's words. For generations they had feared the mountain, believing it was dangerous and untouchable. Now they saw it differently. The volcano was not only a place of power, but also a place of connection. It was proof that humans could face great challenges and emerge stronger. Lomu placed a hand on Ryan's shoulder. "You have done more than anyone could imagine. Not only did you survive the trial, but you have brought hope to all of us." Rian nodded. "The trial was not mine alone. We all walked it together. The forge, the mountain, and the fire each taught us something. Humanity is stronger than it knows." Arya added, "And the temple will remain. It will watch over the valley and remind us that courage is never forgotten." The volcano's smoke curled into the sky as if it were bowing to them. The forge had tested, the fire had spoken, and humanity had answered. Ryan felt a deep calm settle over him. The journey had changed him, but it had also changed the world. The temple beneath the volcano was no longer hidden. Its story lived in the hearts of those who had witnessed it. As the sun rose higher, the valley glowed with life. Rian, Lomu, and Arya walked together back to the village. The villagers followed, eager to hear the story of the fire and the forge. The bands on Ryan's wrists shone softly in the sunlight, symbols of courage, endurance, and the bond between humans and the ancient beings who had once walked beside them. The forge had taught a lesson stronger than gold. True strength came from the spirit, from courage and respect. The fire had tested humanity and found it worthy. And in the light of the volcano, the people of the valley felt it too. Gold forged in fire does not fade, the villagers realized, and neither does courage. Rian looked up at the volcano one last time, feeling the quiet strength of its heart. The journey was complete, yet the story would live on. Humanity had faced the fire, carried its lessons, and shone brighter for it. The temple beneath the volcano had given its gift. Humanity had accepted it with open hearts, and the world, ever full of challenges, would continue to shine, forged in the fire of courage and hope.